Hello and welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AWOL, back with another bracelet pattern that I came up with myself. This one is kind of a little similar to one I made a couple bracelets ago, but it's chunkier. So it always kind of trips me up mentally, like thinking about this, like how big of a difference there is between a 12 string bracelet and a 16 string bracelet. So this one's 16, and going into it, I was a little bit confused. I was like, I couldn't picture a way of segmenting it, because that's kind of a thing where, right, if you can work on a whole big area at once, you can it kind of goes a little bit faster. You might notice I made a mistake lining up the color there. But this one turns out it doesn't, you can't just stay focused on the right hand side or the left hand side. It's little small rows that go back and forth. So like when the knots are going to the left, your row is going to the right, and when your lines are coming to the right, you're making a row that builds going towards the left. It's a little bit like you don't almost imagine that's the way it works, but it has to, because the single little gray knot that allows you to do 3 in a row comes after you've already done the one before it. So there is some kind of play to it. Also, previously, most of the other patterns, the gray really stands out. Like you notice the gray a lot. In this one, there's so many other colors going on. It's 8 colors, right, making up a extremely covered rainbow here. The 8 colors are so much more dominant that you almost don't even notice the gray this time, which I thought that was kind of interesting as well. So now it is possible, if you were to go through some of the other websites or whatever, you might find a pattern like this. I would imagine there should be, but I can't say for sure, only because it seems sort of intuitive. Like it just seems like something that it was easy enough for me to come up with and make. So I assumed that maybe somebody else has already done that. I don't know. I haven't bothered trying to search for it. So yeah, no. But it's technically 9 colors, because there's the 8 colors of the rainbow plus the gray that is used, and 16 strings. So if you want to go look for it, you can. I'm curious. But yeah, it's a really fun pattern to make. It took less than an hour and a half, which is probably pretty good, I guess. It's been a while since I've done 16 string bracelets, so I'm not really sure like how long it's supposed to take, but it was like an hour and 25, give or take, right around there. So yeah, I had a lot of fun making it, though. I really did. Once I figured out that, like, it's just a matter of doing these rows like this, like, I didn't need the pattern. The only time I considered having to look at the pattern was to see when I was approaching the end of it, and that was kind of easy, because it sort of ends where the yellow is just a single knot down at the thing. So like I could literally, like, the yellow is just already coming to the left and now coming back to the right. It'll go back to the left, and then it ends when it comes to the right again. Makes it super easy to kind of, spot when to be concerned, so I could just focus on the bracelet making itself. And like I said, it's a fun pattern. It really is fun, because it's just these little rows, one after another, and it's really easy. This is definitely beginner friendly. Definitely. It's not going to look like it, and so it can intimidate a beginner, but if you watch how I'm doing it, and you can just kind of follow that along. You might have to slow it down. This is really sped up, right? Because like I said, it's almost an hour and a half. I've reduced it down to 10 minutes. So it's definitely sped up. But if you slow down the video and watch how it's coming together, you can do this. I just realized my voice will probably sound really weird when you do that. But you can mute it, slow it down, mute it, check it out, and see how simple a pattern this really is. The strings usage, yeah, not a problem. The color strings are obviously shorter than the gray, but not significantly to the point of having to worry about running out. Of course, I have to say this because there are people who, cut strings in quarters or, smaller whatever, and then they run out, and then they say, hey, but I ran out. I cut my string in thirds, which gives it greater than 2 meters going over the loop, right? So that there's more than a meter in length. I don't know exactly what it is because my math is terrible, but it's 1/3 of 8 meters is my length of string. So, and then you divide that in half because part of it is in the loop. And that is sufficient for me to do most patterns. And that's why I do it, is because I don't want to try to figure out what I need for the one that I'm doing, especially if at the end of the day I'm just going to end up with a piece of scrap that I can't use anyways, right? If I cut it into thirds, I can use the one piece here, and I got 2 more pieces sitting in a box ready for the next project that needs that color. It's that simple. It just makes it so much easier. The only people that I can rationally understand why they would worry about the lengths is the ones that are using the ball of it's like a crocheting kind of yarn, or it looks an awful lot like embroidery floss, but it comes on a great big ball. That one, it kind of makes sense because if you use it reasonably all the time, you can squeeze out more bracelets that way. But it's not so much when you have the regular skeins of floss like DMC and stuff. So that's why I do it the way I do it. We are past the halfway point by like a long shot. I kind of blew it here. Special thanks to YouTube members who make this possible. It's their contribution that's helped get me lighting and microphones and all the floss that I use. So thank you guys very much for that. If you want to join, watch behind the scenes stuff or hangouts or any of the other perks, take a look. There is a join button down by where it says subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. I would love to get some more people on board to help get this channel really, to the next level. Got a lot of ideas, things that I would like to do, just can't really afford to yet. So, yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, so now the yellow is all the way to the left again. It's gonna end where it comes back to the right. It's, again, that made it so easy to see. I do kind of question 3 colors that I chose for this. And mind you, these weren't just scraps. I actually went to pick the colors to try to figure it out. I wanted 2 different purples. So I had a very light purple, and that one is so light that I kind of feel like it sort of fades into the grays a bit. Also, the light blue and the light green are just sort of, I feel like they were almost too light in color considering the boldness of the other ones. But I thought, with yellows and everything else, like kind of letting it come down to a lower part would help add to the overall look. And in some ways, I believe that's true. It sort of just works. And yeah, although I'd like to see what you choose for colors. Maybe you come up with something completely different. It might be fun. And like I said, I did it with 8 colors. 8 colors plus the gray. It might be really cool if you did some kind of alternation with 4 colors. I did kind of think about that while I was playing around with it, that it might be really kind of neat. I don't know. There's so many possibilities. Bracelets are almost endless, and that's one of the things I love about this craft is every time I think, oh, I've done it all, there's something else to try and something else that'll spark my imagination. And because I have the templates, I can make up stuff and make them become a reality. And I want to teach that as well. I want you guys to be able to come up with an idea like this and run with it and use the patterns and have fun. So there you go. Yeah, we are down to the last little bit here. So thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you made it this far, that's awesome. If you could hit the like button, that would be really super cool. And yeah, as always, don't get your strings in a bunch.